HPBB, software that commonly powers forums, looks exactly the same as it did 10 years ago in terms of the form, functionality, and aesthetic of the message board. It just hasn't really changed at all. And when you look at where they're descended from, water, please. It's like hot up here. When you look at Usenet, dial-up BBS, again, it's all essentially exactly the same. And so we wanted to kind of reimagine what the message board should be. And so what is it that message boards enable people to do? It enables people to, my definition of it would be, a place where strangers can come together and talk about stuff. Come together and kind of arrange themselves around topics and around, categories. And in many ways, 4chan we've kind of been made fun of over the years because if you look at the site, it's not like we're going to win any sort of design awards, right? For a long time, we were still using Times New Roman for all of our fonts. A few years ago, we spiffied it up. We added some gradients. We added some, I think Arial or Helvetica. But it's such a bare bones, basic website. But I think in many ways that that places us really closer to that core problem than a lot of other sites, because again, it's just this very basic, bare bones. You can post an image, you can put text there. That's that. There's no archive, there's no registration, nothing of that sort. And so one of the things that 4chan does that's really special is, again, this, the way that people kind of come together and collaborate in mass. And I've kind of come to understand content creation is this collaborative process with many participants kind of coming together, being squeezed into one place, and riffing back and forth. That's the way that it was described to me, and I love that. It's almost like the way that music is created. People will seed an idea, seed an image, a comment, and have other people kind of take that and manipulate it, modify, and bounce it back and forth. And at the end of that, the product is, in the case of 4chan, a meme. And it's not just the product that's really fascinating, but it's the process by which you arrive at that product that's really fascinating to participate in, and to just watch how it unfolds. And so there are 4 things that I think that I've learned from 4chan that I'd like to share, that I really define it, that are really thematically interesting about the site and really define it. And the first is this idea of fluid identity. And so again, obviously, the site's anonymous, right? So after TED last year, a gentleman came up to me. His name is Austin Hill, and he, really, liked what I had to say as far as kind of protecting these places where people can kind of come in and chat anonymously. And he said that he felt like what we were losing, when we're kind of moving towards this state of persistent identity, where you've got 1 or 2 kind of profiles that you're kind of being tracked across the web, is that there's kind of a loss of the innocence of youth, and you can't really make mistakes in the same way you used to be able to. I don't know how many people here moved as a kid, but when you used to move as a child and go to a new school, you were able to reinvent yourself. You were able to do that in the workplace too. I mean, anywhere you really went, if people only knew about you what you told them. Nowadays it's different, right? We've all got Facebook. If you don't have Facebook, people probably think you're weird. And when you meet somebody and you want to friend them, you want to kind of find out a lot about them. And so we're kind of getting stuck into this kind of who you are, and there's not an easy way to kind of change that over time. And so the cost of failing, when we kind of apply this to communities, the cost of failure is really high when you're competing as yourself. There's little picture of your face and your real name. To fail in an environment where you're being identified by your real name is costly, because those mistakes are attributed with who you are. And so imagine, say, like on 4chan, where if you're seeding all these failed memes and people come to associate all that failure with you, you're not going to feel very encouraged. Like you're going to keep wanting to do that. And so when you have the ability to kind of, choose to be identified, or, in times when you kind of want to poke around and experiment, when you want to be anonymous, it allows people to kind of be more flexible and creative and kind of poke and prod and try a lot of things that they might not, were they to have, little picture of their face in a crisp pool next to all of their contributions. Mark Zuckerberg has said that he's kind of equated anonymity with a lack of authenticity, almost a cowardice. And I mean, I would say that's totally wrong. I think anonymity, represents, is authenticity. And I mean, it allows you to share in a completely, unvarnished, unfiltered, raw way. And I think that's something that's extremely valuable. And again, in the case of content creation, it just allows you to kind of play in ways that you might not have otherwise. So, we believe in kind of content over creator. When you look at most other communities, things that are really important are when you registered, what your user ID is, how many kind of thanks you've gotten, points you've accumulated, things that aren't really that important, right? But I'm sure that if anybody here has been a member of an online community, you kind of, there start to be these kind of known persons that exist within communities, and their contributions are weighted in a way that isn't quite right? Because people start to kind of bandwagon around certain individuals, and they stop to kind of look at what it is they're saying, and they just go, oh, such and such said it, okay, it must be right. And in a place like 4chan, you don't have that. The people are all judged the same way, which is by what it is their contribution is, and the site